What if the dream of finally becoming your true self pushed someone to the breaking point and beyond? Today, you are about to hear the shocking true story of a trans woman who became entangled in a plot to kill her wealthy uncle. Not for revenge, not for passion, but for money she believed was her only path to gender confirmation surgery. This is the case of Nicole Titlow. A story of desperation, addiction, betrayal, and ultimately, murder. Imagine living with a secret so heavy that it defines every choice you make. For Nicole Titlow, a 33-year-old trans woman from Chicago, that secret was her gender identity and the overwhelming desire to complete her transition through surgery she could not afford. What followed was a chain of decisions that would leave one man dead, one woman free, and another sentenced 2 decades behind bars. Nicole Titlow was born Harry Vonley Titlow. By her early 30s, she had been living openly as a woman for years. She had already undergone cosmetic procedures and hormone treatments, but she desperately wanted gender confirmation surgery, a procedure that at the time could cost tens of thousands of dollars. Financially, Nicole struggled. Emotionally, she felt trapped. Friends later described her as fixated on the surgery, believing it was essential for her survival and happiness. In the year 2000, Nicole's life took a dramatic turn when she reconnected with her aunt, Billie Jean Rogers. Billie invited her to move from Chicago to rural Tennessee to live with her and her husband, Donald Rogers. Donald was 74 years old, wealthy, and the owner of a successful auto parts business. But behind the money was a deeply troubled man. Donald was a severe alcoholic. He drank heavily every day, often to the point of passing out. The house was filled with tension, fueled by his drinking and Billie's growing resentment. Billie, decades younger than Donald, had her own addiction: gambling. She spent long nights at casinos and racked up massive losses. At one point, she reportedly lost $13,000 in a single night. Arguments between Billie and Donald became routine. She complained constantly about his drinking. He refused to give her more money. The marriage was collapsing. As the household deteriorated, Nicole became a quiet observer, listening, watching, and absorbing every argument. Eventually, Billie confided something chilling. She told Nicole she was exhausted, tired of Donald's alcoholism, tired of being trapped, tired of debt. And then, she floated an unthinkable idea. Donald was worth more dead than alive. Around the same time, Nicole confided her own desperation. She told Billie about her desire for gender confirmation surgery and how impossible it felt to afford it. The two women's needs collided in a dangerous way. Billie's gambling debts continued to climb, eventually reaching around $40,000. When she begged Donald for help, he refused. That refusal, prosecutors later argued, sealed his fate. Billie decided Donald had to die. According to court testimony, Billie offered Nicole $100,000 to help murder Donald. The money, she said, would come from Donald's inheritance. For Nicole, this was life-changing money. Money she believed could finally pay for the surgery she had dreamed about for years. Nicole accepted. On the night of August 12, 2000, the plan was put into motion. Donald was already heavily intoxicated. Nicole and Billie attempted to kill him by forcing more alcohol down his throat, hoping it would cause fatal alcohol poisoning. But Donald didn't die. According to later confessions, Billie panicked. While Nicole left the room, Billie smothered Donald with a pillow until he stopped breathing. Donald Rogers was dead. Afterward, Billie staged the scene. She called 911 and reported that her husband had passed out drunk. Police arrived. The medical examiner ruled the death alcohol-related. No autopsy was performed. Donald's body was cremated. There was no suspicion of murder. Billie inherited Donald's wealth. True to her word, she paid Nicole the promised $100,000. For months, the crime went undiscovered. But then, Nicole made a fatal mistake. She confessed a murder to a man she was dating. Shocked, the man went to police. Investigators arranged a sting operation. The man wore a wire and recorded Nicole discussing Donald's death and her role in it. Those recordings changed everything. Nicole was arrested first. Billy was arrested later. Prosecutors charged both women with first-degree murder. Nicole initially agreed to a plea deal. If she testified against Billy, she would plead guilty to manslaughter and serve between 7 and 15 years. But Nicole withdrew the plea. She refused to testify against her aunt. At trial, Nicole claimed she never intended for Donald to die, that she believed the alcohol would knock him out, not kill him. The jury didn't believe her. Nicole Titlow was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to 40 years in prison. Billy Rogers went to trial separately. Without Nicole's testimony, prosecutors couldn't prove their case. Billy was acquitted. Nicole appealed her conviction, arguing ineffective legal counsel and a disastrous plea decision. Her case eventually reached the U.S. Supreme Court. The conviction stood. Today, Nicole remains incarcerated. Her case remains one of the most controversial true crime stories involving identity, motive, and moral responsibility. It raises uncomfortable questions. How far can desperation push someone? Where does personal struggle end and criminal accountability begin? And how many lives are destroyed when money, addiction, and desperation collide? This wasn't just a murder. It was a tragedy built one decision at a time. Like, subscribe, and share with your friends.